So this well, look, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I okay?
Copy.
Okay.
Copy.
Okay. So this gaming pulpit is a little different than what it was before. This is not the same thing. This is a live stream because I have somebody here. It's gonna be a little longer than what it normally would be as well. But we are going to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn going out to the PC this summer, and it's going to be on Steam. Surprisingly, um, Sony's not creating its own launcher. But I want to actually point out some things. I'm not going to be cocky enough to say that I want to enlighten anyone or anything like that. But I want to give you some food for thought for sure. Holman Hurst, Herman Host has went on record to say that he has definitely releasing the Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC this summer. He also wanted to let all of the PlayStation community know that this is something that is not going to be a common occurrence. This is something that they wanted to try out and experiment with different things and get other people, supposedly, quote unquote, bait them to buy the console from the actual PC portion. So the whole Twitterverse internet fanboys just erupted into this, I don't know, man, suicide watch. It's fucking ridiculous. Some of these people are having like existential meltdowns. They're losing their fucking minds over this one game that was released almost 4 years ago. Um, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing on the fanboys. Now, and what I think it is, truthfully, is that it's people that tried to rub this information in, or try to rub the fact that PlayStation had exclusives in the Xbox face. It's fanboy dribble is really what it is. Um, or drivel rather, not dribble, drivel. But it's people are wrong. They didn't expect Sony to do something like this, and so they have a lot to say regarding it. They look like fools for being a fanboy for PlayStation, and now they're taking it out on just the situation itself. I said this before, and I'll say this again. It's a fucking business. It's a business. All they care about is money, and it's always been like this. It's always been about money, and I don't understand. So I have about 11 points that I want to actually discuss.
Ooh.
I don't want to keep this pretty. I don't want to keep this long, um, in a tooth. I want to kind of keep this, in a chicken McNugget bite-size little gaming pulpit is what this is. So I do have a guest here, as you can hear him snorting some shit. I don't fucking know. But
Pardon me.
let's talk about this. Like I said before, the first thing that I wanted to say is that people were upset. They are upset because they're wrong. They rubbed it in the Xbox community's face for the whole time, saying that they're stupid, that Microsoft is going third party, and now Sony has officially said that one of their biggest titles is going to the PC. They are pissed at the fact that they're wrong. They're not even rationally thinking. I mean, there was people that tried to use fast food analogies. If I go to Burger King and ask for a Big Mac, then it's not a fucking food. How about that? It's not food. It has nothing to do with that. It's still a fucking company. I've seen a whole bunch of shit. People try to rationalize, and then people that say that they're not upset about it. But you know what? I'm not going to buy the PS5 at all. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to buy the
Not all fried
PS5.
chickens are fried equally, right?
Pretty much. So he goes and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna buy the PS5. Nigga, you know damn well you buying a fucking PS5 like the rest of us. I like how ridiculous to say something like that. That's ridiculous to say. Like you're being a big ass baby to say some shit like that. And it caught people off guard. It's showing how much of a fanboy people were. It's irrational, some of the responses that people had. I'm not talking about the one that fucked up his rec room. Like, just in general, this response is, fuck you, Sony. How could you do this? You're devaluing your games and stuff like that, your platform. They don't give a fuck. And guess what? Because this world is so impatient. There's no fucking way someone's going to sit there and wait for 5 years to get a fucking game. It didn't even do anything like for a Tomb Raider. That Tomb Raider remake or whatever the fuck it was, came out exclusively on the Xbox, and then a sequel flopped because of that shit too. It's like it totally like you can't expect that. Either way, what is your take on people being upset at Xbox fanboys and
I
using
think
food analogies?
I think as with all cases like this, some people blow things way out of proportion. The sensationalism, right? Um, the food analogy I'm not going to touch, so I'm guilty of using that a few times myself. Not with this particular subject, but I I really see it as it's a very pragmatic choice to make. I mean, if you actually read the official announcement, it's very clear that this is something that Sony is getting into very slowly. They have absolutely no rush, and they're basically just dipping their toe in the water and seeing if it's worth dipping into altogether, right? Um, as you stated, Horizon came out 4 years ago, um, and while it would be kind of interesting to see what the PC release would be like, um, it's the PlayStation 5 is what is a console, and it has exclusive software, and all that is to make
No,
money.
no, just to keep on topic on what you think about the Xbox blowing it out of proportion, because I'm going to ask that in a second.
Okay. Um, this is as you stated, it is a business. Now, of course, you know, in the case of like the PS2 and the PS1, and PS3 had some problems, but Sony has made a fairly good product. And you could tell that with some of the exclusive titles, that even stuff like Days Gone, where that game has some issues and there are some shortcomings, you can tell that there's a lot of passion that those guys put into that world, despite its shortcomings. And that's why Sony has been successful, is because they've been able to either locate or somehow harness that talent and that passion that these different developers have. Um,
Now, what do you got to say about people that actually they think that releasing games on PC is going to diminish quality overall because they have to now allocate resources to PC?
that that statement is kind of a what's what I'm looking for. It's a false assumption in that you're assuming that because they're going to take a exclusive Sony piece of software and then actually put it on the PC, you're assuming that they're dividing the resources, so it's only going to be half as good or whatever. That you're going to divide it in half and it's only going to be half as good, which that's kind of stupid to think of it that way. Um, if if you have a talented company, which Sony has several development studios that are quite talented, what are you going to do? You're going to take your time with that stuff. Now, in terms of how it's going to release, if it's going to release separately or simultaneously, that's up to speculation. But I would think Sony as a company would be intelligent enough to say, hey, look, we're going to start putting this stuff on PC. We're going very slowly, and we want we want this software to run well and to look well
They
and to be
stated
well
that they're not
received.
going to do it's not going to be day and day at least for a while.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
not
Well, then there
this,
you go. Then it'll be a
but they don't
if
believe the corporation. So there's that.
well if it's going to come to the Sony platform first, whatever that may be, then obviously the resources will be there, and then later on, whenever the PC version is supposed to release, they'll have time to kind of polish it and refine it. Because of course, as when you're working on the PC, you have to consider the possibilities of different types of hardware and software and so on and so forth, operating systems, yada yada. Um, so to me, I just find that that's kind of that's just a false assumption, you know, that because they're going to put it on another platform,
It's
which is the PC,
overreacting, is what it is. It's super
basically.
overreacting. Now, I want to
So
say this. I mean, because people were trying to rationalize this and say that they're not going to buy the PS5, and I'll get into that in just a second. or at least they're not going to get it day and date. Well, for one, you're not going to
Mhm.
get it because it's the coronavirus, most likely. So, either way, moving on to our next subject here, our not next subject, next point, I should say. Um, there is a perk to having a console release. I mean, there's a perk to having the console version, I should say. I mean, you get it early. If they want to keep this, you will get it early. You
Mhm.
know, people are impatient nowadays. Like I said before earlier in this video, it's people are not going to wait. And then let's like for instance, The Last of Us is not the last the Last Guardian is being shown. Your game is going to get fucking spoiled by the time you fucking get it.
Yeah.
For sure, like yeah, like cause that's a fucking possibility. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the things that people were saying is outrageous. And another thing too is I said this before, and people looked at me like, "Oh, consoles are not plug and play. Consoles are just basically PC." So the very place that you worship, the Digital Foundry, they had a video on trying to play an older game on older hardware. You know what happened during their video? It stopped working, and it stopped working because of driver incompatibility while they were fucking like while they were doing their video. That's the type of shit that I don't want to deal with. Period. That's just I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. What's your take on that? For both of the things I said.
I don't want to deal with it. Um, it's it's such a. I'm trying to figure out how to word this.
And we're
Um,
halfway through the video, so
yeah, it's. I guess I'm just so my mind is so caught up on all the drama and stuff. It's really just like
you're
people are
lucky
just
you don't
kind of
have Twitter. You lucky you don't
yeah
have it.
yeah.
That shit is
People are
outrageous.
really going too far. I mean, it's almost like something that came to me while you were talking is it's like let's look at the return to the classic isometric RPGs that through Kickstarter and stuff released on PC. And those games have eventually had a port, you know, to the consoles. Like, are those people betraying the PC demographic? That were started their gaming experiences with like Planescape Torment and stuff. Of course not, man.
This
It's
is
a
why I believe. This is why I believe this is because people wanted to be right so badly and was proven wrong. They made fun of another community for so long, and they don't. And it just hurts. It hurts to be wrong. It fucking hurts to be wrong. That's what it is. Another thing that you want to look at, moving on to other
yeah.
points here, is people don't understand. Unless you're a MOBA game, you sell way more on consoles than you do on PC. Way more. You got even Grand Theft Auto didn't sell that much. Red Dead Redemption didn't sell that much. You're gonna get maybe if it was day and date, maybe about 4 or 5 million units. But that number could greatly diminishes when you wait for fucking 4 year, 3 years. Like no one's gonna like. Okay, so you want to experience it or want to play with it or whatever the fuck you want to do with it. It is ridiculous. Some of the complaint, like some of the things, it's oh man. Sony can't abandon it because that's where they make their most money. Now I'm seeing this stuff going online as well, where they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe," you know, um, the only reason why Sony is doing this is because the consoles cost too much to make and they don't get money. That's not what's going on. It was always the same thing. There was the main thing is that they're looking for an extra revenue stream. That's it. They're looking for an extra revenue stream. There are some PC people that would never buy a console. But now that you gave them a taste of this shit, they may buy a console. And one thing you need to understand about PC people is that these motherfuckers are not afraid to spend money, whereas console players are. So if they want to play a game day and date and then double dip, that's within the realms of what they would normally do. What the fuck is a $400 console? You know, when they buy a GPU that's like for 700, just the GPU itself. So it's a different ball game. It's a different world, and console players are thinking like console people. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it is very evident that in most cases, uh, games typically do sell better on a console platform than they do on PC. Of course, there are a few exceptions, but in most cases, console will sell more than PC. Now, in terms of sales or revenue, I look at it as either it's very likely that they are just trying to have another stream of revenue from another source, which would be the PC community. People saying that, oh, I don't have to buy a PlayStation or I'll just wait. Well, I mean, I don't think they're really worried about those type of people because if you see something like The Last of Us 2 and you're willing to wait 5 years or whatever to play it on your PC, then that means you're not really that interested in that game for whatever reason in the first place.
Well, that's the thing,
You know,
though. That's the thing. They weren't interested in it because they didn't have the opportunity to play it. Now they have the opportunity to play it, and maybe they will become interested. And this is what they're probably going for. You know,
I would use a simple example of look at Doom 3 when it first came out, and then you had their console version that they put on the PS3 and Xbox 360. I did get to play it. I mean, I played a little bit back in the day, but I really didn't have a PC that could run it properly. You know, um, but then I got to kind of play it, and I guess in its glory or whatever you want to call it that. Um, and I mean, yeah, I wish I could have played it at the time, but I just didn't have the resources. I was still in school and stuff, and I couldn't buy a computer to run that game. It was just too expensive. And I think you have a demographic of people that you can branch out to, and then you have some that are really not that interested. And it's really just an additional revenue stream. And then, in my opinion, which I look this ties into the revenue thing, is I am thinking that perhaps the Decima engine is going to be Sony's going to try and license that other people can use it to make their games. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's going to PC, so people
because
can kind of see what that's capable
people
of.
was actually questioning as to why. And another thing someone
And
brought
that
up.
that would be a very if it ends up doing well, that would be a very lucrative revenue stream. Is people be like, man, I want to get that disc engine. It's badass.
It could be a cheap
So,
it could be a cheaper alternative to
yeah.
Unreal. And it's just it's funny how people are like really fucking stressing this shit out. Like they are really really sick with this shit. Like they are sick. Honestly, like I read this shit and I'm like, man, people are fucking crazy. All in the name of being right. Now, Quanvo, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Quanvo, I guess as it is, and I'm sorry for speaking your name. Um, he mentions about console gamers are not fucking, they're not, they're cheap as shit. There was talks about the console gaming being $500, and people were like, oh, I ain't doing that. Now you would have sit there because of one game that's 4 years old. You would talk about buying a whole fucking $1,800 computer. Really? Really? That's fucking bullshit, and you know it is. And then what about the people that had the fucking the PCs already? I mean, people are really crying the soft tears of tears. I just know what I need to do next. Sony has it's just so disappointing because Sony is just I just can't believe what they're it's the end of an era. I was like, are you fucking really? Like, I just to me it's mind blowing. The some of the shit that people are really tripping over. And I'll go back here really quickly. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. Let me see if I can find some more points here.
One thing that I'm going to bring up real quick is that people also have to realize that every individual person is going to have something that they settle on, and that's when their investment is. And when you think about reaching out to other people in terms of revenue, there are probably people that have a PC, and that's basically what they play. They don't really mess with console. And because of that, the only way you can access that demographic is by porting your game to the PC platform.
Or else
Because
they will,
for
or else
whatever
they will
reason,
never
those
know.
people are just not interested in buying a console.
Or else they
So
will never
otherwise, they'll
know.
never know. Yeah.
It's kind of like a white chick that never had a black dude, you know, and her family keeps her sheltered. And one day she gets into a situation where she experienced the BBC, and she's like, "Oh my God, what the fuck have I been missing this whole time?" To me, that's how I feel like. Honestly, like it's, and I'm being stupid here, but like honestly, it's they were never going to buy a whole console. They were never going to buy the PlayStation Pro. Even the PlayStation Pro was an experimental thing. That would have never happened as well unless Sony didn't kind of plan that shit out. So all of a sudden, like everybody's defecting. All of a sudden, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Some of these people are outrageous. I can't deal with it. I'm reading it online. I'm like, my God, man. I thought I was a fanboy. I could see this from like miles away, miles away. That shit was. I mean, they're not going to put their games out on day and date. That's not going to happen. But they did say this. Maybe some games may be day and date. I mean, so there may be exceptions to the rule, and they said that in other words. I don't feel like looking up what the fuck they said, but it was in other words they said that. And because they was like, we're not, they kind of left it ambiguous as to what they were going to do. And to be honest with you, some games will deserve to be day and date. I mean, think of it like this, right? Dreams. Dreams is another game that would have been deserving of a day and date thing. And then guess what? If Sony would have announced today that Dreams is going to be multi-platform and on PC, nobody would have gave a fuck. Whether it fit PC or not, it's because it's Horizon Zero Dawn. It looked the way that it looked on consoles. It was just a lot of things going on with that game. I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn put a lot of fucking PC games to shame, and now it's on PC, and people are like, oh shit, you know. It's the type of thing that we don't need is this fanboy war shit. You know what I'm saying? And nobody gives Nintendo shit either because Nintendo's going after the phone market, and Sony is going after the PC market. No one says
Nintendo's in
shit.
their own bubble.
He says the person, your growing minds know me well. They just lost their bragging rights. That's all. Yeah, they did. They did. They lost their bragging rights, and now they feel salty. All the people that have the podcast, if they are irrational, it's starting to show. It's starting to show. You know, it's that ridiculous. It's to the point now where um the bragging rights are gone. No more bragging. They're hiding. They're seeing PC people dance and do all the worm and all sorts of shit, and it just sucks to be wrong. And you know what? That's indicative of is a fucking immature person. You can't be wrong ever, really. You can't admit that you're wrong. That's just the way of the future. I work for a telecommunications company, and guess what? They put their shit on other people's stuff all the time. The phone that you have in your hand, if you have a phone, most of the shit is Frankenstein by other companies. The iPhone has a Samsung screen, a Sony fucking camera, a Samsung memory card, all sorts of crazy shit's put together. That's just business. It's business. You know what I'm saying? There's mutual benefits to this, but I guarantee you this: when you look at the numbers, this is why you call yourself a hardcore fanboy. And I'm gonna send it to you, Terry. You call yourself a hardcore fanboy, right? And yet you don't know that when you look at the Sony fiscal numbers, like 80% of their numbers come from the store. Why on earth would they stop making consoles to go on PC if 80% of their shit goes to the fucking store? I'm exaggerating. It's probably more like 65%. But that's a huge fucking number. So now they don't have, and third party people know about this. They know that's why they don't exclusively make shit for PC, because console players, although they don't buy hardware like that, they sure as hell buy games. They'll buy things in bite size. They don't want to commit to a lot of shit, or to a large sum of money off the rip. They'll buy games though for sure, and that's why EA and Ubisoft don't want to just exclusively take their games and make it on their own storefront, because they just won't make the money for it. What's your take on this? Everything that I said. And
Everything I said.
what do you have to say? What do you have to say about this?
Well, it's. I'm trying to think of what to say that you haven't added already. This, if anything, it's really just about pragmatism. You know, if you look at how
Pragmatism.
big, yes, if you look at how big games have gotten, if you look at how many people it takes to make a game, if you look at, the resources and the time that's put into it, games are becoming, more and more expensive to put out, at least a quality game. In terms of, AAA, I guess if you want to use that labeling would be more appropriate. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to appeal to everyone when it comes out. I think if you look at certain games, like as you mentioned with Red Dead Redemption 2, there is a lot of quality and polish in that game, but you mentioned on PC it hadn't really sold that well. And I mean, if you just look at the control scheme,
I mean, it's
I mean, who
sold
wants
well
to?
enough, but it's not 20 fucking million that it was on a console. That's
Yeah,
not happening.
yeah. It's really just to obviously make money, but to kind of offset, the cost of making a game. And I think you can go back last generation where, you start to see everybody going multi-platform. Which I mean, you actually had a lot of games even in the PS2 era that were multi-platform. More than you might think. But it's just becoming kind of commonplace now. And while Sony has been very successful, I think going forward it's kind of obvious that just sticking to one platform is really just kind of archaic thinking. I
It
guess if you
is,
want
and
to
it is, and
want to
it's financially,
use a
it's not
fancy
it
terminology.
financially it's just not a good business move. Now, people ask this question: what about Nintendo? Now you look at Nintendo games; they don't have any voice actors, or they probably have like one or two people. The rest of them, blah 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 blah
Uh-huh.
blah 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 blah. They're not going to pay voice actors. Their games are incredibly cheap to make, and then it sells 16 million. So they're good for the moment. You know what I mean? They got their demographic. What Sony invested in is basically movie-esque games. That's what they invested in, and it's fucking expensive.
Yeah.
When you talk about Comcast, right? Comcast have exclusive rights to Comcast Sportsnet, but in order for them to continue to do business with Disney and ESPN, they got to share that with other people. It's a business maneuver. You know what I mean? Um, it's just the dumbest thing that when I'm reading this, it just makes my head hurt so fucking bad that they don't understand that it's not a smart business decision to do. A corporation don't give a fuck about your feelings. They want money, and to a
I
certain
think
extent, it's
I think one telltale sign is real quick is that uh, not only was it confirmed, but it was confirmed that it was going to be available on Steam, and that should tell you right there that it's very likely that at least at the present time, Sony's not going to make a big push to put all their games on PC because if they're using something like Steam, then that means that Steam as a storefront has to get a cut.
they
I
get
don't know
they
how
get like
that
a
works out.
they get a 30% cut. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. Now everybody's gonna be like, why does Sony make their own storefront? Which I thought at one point too, and I was wrong. And then when I
that
look
would
at
make
it,
more
but
sense
hold on,
if
wait. They, if they want to do it in the long run, if they want to
yeah.
continue to do shit, Yes, it would make sense if they want to do that. But here's the thing: Steam is established. You know what I mean? Like the what is the EA one? Epic Game Store. That's not established.
EA has Origin, and then
No, no, I meant to say Epic.
Epic,
That's
Epic.
the
You have the Epic Game Store. That's another one.
that's not established at all. That shit's not established. I mean, they got people going over there because of the exclusivity, but Steam is really where it's at. If they want to reach a lot of people, it's going to be Steam. And they'll take that cut because that game, they know with Intolerance, that game is not going to sell gangbusters. It may do 500,000, but that's 500,000 people that is now exposed to the fucking game, A. B, that's 500,000 people that purchased your fucking game in general that wouldn't have purchased it on a console. It's already saturated. That's it. That's it. Yo, what's going on, Fado? Any good graphic card on Horizon? The 30 series is supposed to be. Um, okay, so they talking amongst each other, but like it's people need to understand this. I'm not worried about it. I was at one point because I was in my little fanboy mode. I'm not gonna lie. I was in my little fanboy mode. Because I was just like, it doesn't. I was like, what is Sony doing? They're devaluing their fucking IPs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, people are asking as well, what is stipulating in the games? What's stipulating it? Like, what is going to go on the PC? Well, I mentioned this in another podcast. I basically stated the reason why they chose Horizon Zero Dawn is because Horizon Zero Dawn is not a legacy game. It didn't come out on the PS3. They're not going to put God of War on there just yet because guess what? That shit was all the way in the PS2. That hurts a little more. So they won't do that either. Horizon Zero Dawn is a new IP. And it got a 8, what is it, 8.5, 8.7, 87 on the Metacritic or whatever the case is. So it was good, but it wasn't that great for everybody. Everybody was calling it a fucking Ubisoft game anyway. So all of a sudden it hurts you that it's going on the fucking PC and it was a Ubisoft game. It's just the type of shit is just outrageous. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. The last point I want to mention before we go. Now there's talks about other games going out on the PC. I was looking at this too. And the talks is actually, you may have seen this, but The Last Guardian and Gravity Rush 2. They're going out on, supposedly, they're going out on the console or on the PC. What if this helps out those underperforming games and keeps those companies in business because they want to make niche games and shit like that instead of us getting the same rehashed, formula? Now they have a revenue stream where people are actually going to purchase the shit on a different platform that has different demographics. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nintendo is kind of really in its own bubble.
No, no,
Um,
I'm talking about The Last Guardian and Gravity Rush.
oh, I thought you said something about Nintendo. The Last Guardian, Gravity Rush.
Because that's the new rumor right now.
Well, once again, it goes down to I'll say this with Gravity Rush and The Last Guardian, I'm a little skeptical of that. The reason why I say it is because I think if you look at like Japan and that kind of demographic in terms of Japanese development studios, they typically have their market really on either like a Nintendo mobile or the console platform. I guess smartphones would be part of the mobile thing as well. But PC gaming, like, it's not that it doesn't exist. It's just there's more emphasis on the console market. You know, so I would be a little skeptical about Gravity Rush and The Last Guardian because of that. I could be completely wrong, but maybe
I'm on the reason why I
Gra-
would say Gravity Rush
The
and The
Last
Last
Guardian I
Guardian.
think is more likely, in my
But the
opinion.
reason why I say those two games is because it builds a catalog of those things, and it could help out those games. It could legitimately help out those games because y'all motherfuckers didn't buy the game because guess what? It's not fucking Fortnite or Call of Duty, but yet you want to sit there and talk about exclusives. You should have purchased that shit too. They were great games. Anyway, um, since I ain't gonna purchase the shit, maybe some PC people will purchase it. You know, but Dreams also. Dreams is a perfect fit to me. I could see Dreams going out. We all could see that shit. That looks legit. That's a legit. It could happen, and I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't give a flying fuck. How about that? Because you know what, y'all motherfuckers ain't buying Dreams either. I'm not creative enough. You don't even get this shit a chance. So that's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. Y'all ain't buying it. Somebody else is going to buy that shit, and they're going to open up the floodgates when it comes to all this goodness. And I don't think it's going to hurt the fucking platform at all. I just don't. I don't think it's going to hurt the platform. And for all you fuck niggas is sitting there talking about you ain't buying a PS5 because you feel like you're wasting your money, grow the fuck up. And I'm gonna guarantee you this too about these people that are not grown and can't admit that they're wrong. Just to let you know, people don't got time to be downloading drivers, and they're too fucking cheap to be buying big ass fucking PCs, even if it's $600. They didn't want to buy a $600 PS3. What makes you fucking think they're gonna buy $1,000 computer that they have to install drivers? Are you kidding me? What about the fucking people that was complaining about the PS5 maybe $500? Y'all didn't want to do that, but you want to sit there and talk about, oh, well, I'm going to PC now. And yes, this is being redundant. I'm definitely being redundant with this because it needs to be fucking said. Dumb fucks. That's how I feel about the whole situation. Just dumb. Dumb, you're in your, and I know, tell me how you really, dumb fucks is in your feelings that don't want to be fucking wrong, that was sitting there laughing at other people, and it turns out, that's like you laughing at your boy for his wife like fucking cheating on him. Look at that shit, man. I told your ass, yo. I've been telling you this the whole time. She a fucking slut. The whole time you figure out your own wife was cheating on you. And now you feel some kind of way. That's what the fuck this shit is. That's what it is. We're going to end this shit here. It's been on long enough. I got my little guest in here. I tried to make it short. It was impossible. So it was too many. It's too many points there. But thank you guys for showing out. Thank you guys for adding your comments and inputs and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. You're not looking for a fucking giveaway, but I already understand what I'm into. I get it. But peace out, guys.